Okay, all right, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking into the Gnostic Scriptures. One of the particular books inside is the Hymn of the Pearl, so I'll be doing that reading for you. If you're not familiar with the Gnostic text, supposedly there was a period in 1945 in a location known today as Nag Hammadi, Egypt, where supposedly these particular scrolls were discovered. Later they were published, of course, after making some changes to some of the names, peoples, places, and things. Then they were released for everyone to read or investigate. So I'll be doing a reading today. So the version I'll be looking into is Bentley Layton's version of the Gnostic Scriptures. Of course, there will be a link below the like button where you'll be able to have this book for yourself, and I hope you enjoy the reading. The Journey Down to Egypt. When I was an infant, too young to talk, in my father's palace, reposing in the wealth and luxury of those who nourished me, my parents equipped me with supplies and sent me out from the east, our country, on a mission. From the wealth of their treasuries, they gave me a great cargo, which was light, so that I could carry it by myself. The cargo was gold from the high country, silver plate of the great treasuries, emerald jewels of India, and agates of Kozan. And they armed me with steel. They took away from me the jewel-studded garment, shoot with gold, that they had made out of love for me, and the robe of yellow color, tailored to my size. But they made an agreement with me, impressed it on my mind, so that I might not forget it, and said, if you go down to Egypt and bring from there the one pearl which resides there near the ravenous dragon, you shall put back on that jewel-studded garment and the robe which you like. And you shall be a herald for our kingdom, along with your well-remembered brother. So I started out from the east, on a hard and frightening road, accompanied by 2 guides. For I was unused to traveling on it. I passed the borders of Masani, where there is the inn of the eastern traveling merchants, and reached the land of the Babylonians. Section titled, The Bondage in Egypt. Since I had entered Egypt, the guides departed who had traveled with me, and I rushed directly to the dragon and camped near its den, lying in wait for it to grow drowsy and fall asleep, so that I might take away with the pearl. Being on my own, I put on a disguise and would have seemed alien even to my own people. But there I saw a cousin of mine from the east, a free person, gracious, handsome, and young, a child of members of court, who came and kept me company, and whom I made my friend and partner in my travels, had as a constant companion, and exhorted to guard against the Egyptians and against intercourse with their impurities. So I put on their style of dress, so that I might not look like one who was foreign, and had come from abroad to get the pearl, lest the Egyptians arouse the dragon against me. But somehow they learned that I was not from their land. They gave me a mixture of cunning and treachery, and I tasted their food. And I did not any longer recognize that I was a child of the great king, but rather acted as a servant to their king. And I even came to the pearl for which my parents had sent me on the mission, but sank into deep sleep under the heaviness of their food. Section titled, The Exodus. Now my parents also noticed me suffering these things, and they suffered over me. So a proclamation was heralded in our kingdom that all should present themselves at our court. And next the kings of Parthia, those in office, and the leaders of the east decided that in my case I should not be left in Egypt. So too the members of the court wrote to me declaring as follows: From your father the king of kings, your mother who rules in the east, and their brothers who are second after them, to our child in Egypt, peace. Arise and become sober out of your sleep. Listen to the words written in this letter. Remember that you are a child of kings. You have fallen under a servile yoke. Call to mind your garment shot with gold. Call to mind the pearl for which you were sent on the mission to Egypt. Your name has been called to the book of life, along with that of your brother whom you have taken to yourself in our kingdom. So the king confirmed it as an ambassador because of the threat of the Babylonian children and the tyrannical demons of the labyrinth. But for my part, I gave a start when I perceived its voice. And I looked it up and kissed it, and I read. But what was written there concerned that which was engraved in my heart. And on the spot I remembered that I was a child of kings, and that my people demanded my freedom. I also remembered the pearl for which I had been sent on the mission to Egypt, and the fact that I had been coming against the fearsome dragon for booty. And I subdued it by calling out my father's name, and I snatched the pearl and turned to carry it away to my parents. And I took off that dirty clothing and left it behind in their land. Immediately I went straight to the road leading to the light of our eastern home. And while on the road I found a female being who lifted me up. So she got me up from sleep, giving as it were an oracle by her voice, with which she guided me to the light. Indeed, at times I had the royal garment of silk before my eyes, and with a familial love leading me and drawing me on, I passed by the labyrinth, and leaving Babylon behind on the left, I reached Mison, which is a great coast, but I could not recall my splendor. For it was while I was still a boy and quite young that I had left it behind in my father's palace. But when suddenly I saw my garment reflected as in a mirror, I perceived in it my whole self as well. And through it I recognized and saw myself, for though we derived from one and the same, we were partially divided, and then again we were one with a single form. Nay, also the treasurers who had brought the garment I saw as two beings, but there existed a single form in both, one single royal token consisting of two halves. And they had my money and wealth in their hands and gave me my reward, the fine garment of bright colors which was embroidered with gold, precious stones and pearls to give a suitable impression. It was clasped at the collar, and the image of the King of Kings was woven all throughout it. Stones of lapis lazuli had been agreeably fixed to the collar, and I saw in turn that impulses of acquaintance, gnosis, were rippling throughout it, and that it was ready to utter discourse. Then I heard it speaking. It is I who belong to the one who is stronger than all human beings, and for whose sake I was designed by the Father himself. And for my part, I took note of my mature age, and all the royal impulses reposed on me as its energy increased. Thrust out by that being's hands, it hastened to the one who was receiving it, and a longing aroused me to rush and meet that being and to receive it. Spread out, there's lines missing, of colors, lines missing, I was brought back, and I completely clothed myself in my superior royal robe. The return to the royal realm. Once I had put it on, I arose into the realm of peace belonging to the reverential awe, and I bowed my head and prostrated myself before the splendor of the Father who had sent it to me. For it was I who had done his commands, and likewise it was he who had kept the promise. And I mingled at the doors of his archaic royal building. He took delight in me and received me with him in the palace. And all his subjects were singing hymns with reverent voices. He suffered me also to be ushered in to the king's court in his company, so that with my gifts and the pearl I might make an appearance before the king himself. Again, that was a reading from the Gnostic Scriptures. The author, of course, is Bentley Layton. Below the like button, you'll be able to find a link where you'll be able to seek out this resource and be on that path of attainment for everything written therein. If you have any comments or questions about the reading, or you have some ideas for any future readings, please leave them in the comment sections below. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, share with your friends, because there will be more to come. And I'll see you then.